Chullin Daf hey. Typically, a live animal cannot be mekabel tuma. We're discussing a ben pekua that you're allowed to eat as is without shchita. Can it be mekabel tuma since it's food? Rabbi Yisrael says yes, it's mekabel tuma, it's food. Chacham say you're right, it's food, but at the end of the day, it's a live animal. Live animals cannot be mekabel tuma. We have a similar machlokes by fish. When is a fish mekabel tuma? Beishamai say a fish is mekabel tuma as soon as you pull it out of the water. Since fish don't require shchita, so it's as if they're dead. Even though they're still alive, they're mekabel tuma. Beisil says no. Beisil say you have to wait until the fish dies completely, then it's mekabel tuma. Rabbi Akiva is in between. He says if you pull it out of the water and it's not going to live any longer, it's thrashing around, or it has a dry spot the size of a sela, that's considered as if it's already dead, even though it's alive. And at that point, it's mekabel tuma. What about a fish that has a treifa to it? It has a hole in its intestines. It's not going to live. It's not going to live, and it doesn't require shchita. Maybe it should be mekabel tuma right now. So the Gemara says, even if you hold that treifa lives, it can live longer than 12 months. Maybe a fish is different than an animal. By an animal, you say that that's considered treifa, it's no good. But by a fish, since its life has less life than an animal, because once you pull it out of the water, it dies, so maybe it's considered dead right now, and it should be mekabel tuma. On the other hand, you could say, even if you hold that a treifa doesn't live, that's only by something that has the concept of shchita. But a fish doesn't have the whole concept of shchita, so maybe it shouldn't have the concept of treifa. Now, chaylev we know is an isser karis, whereas the isser of eating nevela is a lav. We're talking about a nefel, a stillborn that didn't come to full term in the pregnancy. What is the halacha status of its chaylev? Is it karis like the mother, or it's just a piece of meat and it would be a nevela? Says the Gemara that according to Rabbi Yochanan, all we care about is that it should come out into the world, see the light of day. Since this nefel was born, even though it's dead, it was born into the world, then its chaylev is regular chaylev, the isser karis. Rish Lakish says no. What you need is a full-term pregnancy and come out into the world. And since there wasn't a full-term pregnancy, it's not karis, it's only nevela. Some people say that there's no shiloh over here, that if it wasn't a full-term pregnancy, everybody holds that this chaylev is only nevela. What is happening over here is that it is a full-term pregnancy, but this animal wasn't born yet, and somebody stuck their hand into the mother and pulled out part of the chaylev. Is that considered chaylev or not? Why? Because on the one hand, you had a full-term pregnancy, it's 9 months. On the other hand, it never came into the world. Rabbi Yochanan says it's considered chaylev because all you need is months. Rish Lakish says you need both months and see the light of day, and since you didn't have that here, it's nevela. Now, the Gemara says a very interesting halacha. What happens if after you shechted the mother, you find out that the mother was a treifa? Does that treifa go down to the ben pekua? You have a fetus that doesn't require halachically shchita, but maybe you can't eat the fetus because it's a fetus of a treifa, and it itself is also a treifa. Says the Gemara, according to a mayor that holds that if it's a full-term pregnancy, you have to shech the fetus anyways. So then the fetus is independent of its mother. So just because the mother is treifa doesn't make the fetus treifa. But according to Chacham that hold that you could shech the mother and you don't have to shech the fetus, then the fetus is like the mother, and since the mother is treifa, the fetus is also treifa. Rava says no. That there's two ways to eat this animal. One is by shechting the mother, and then you don't have to shech the baby. The other way is to shech the baby. So since you could shech the baby, so then you shech the baby, and the baby is independent of the mother, and you could eat it even though the mother is treif. Very interesting that Rav Asi said over that he heard from Rabbi Yochanan exactly like this, that you could shech the baby and you could shech the mother. There's two ways to eat this baby. So Reb Zera asked Rav Asi, when you say that you heard this from Rabbi Yochanan, what happened to Rish Lakish? All over Shas you have Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Either he argues with Rabbi Yochanan or he agrees. But where is Rish Lakish over here? Says Rav Asi, what happened was that every time Rabbi Yochanan would say something and Rish Lakish wanted to argue, he had a minhag, he would pause, he would wait. Maybe Rabbi Yochanan would regret it. At this point, when he paused, Rav Asi stepped out of Beis Medrash. So he had no idea whether Rish Lakish argued or not. There are some that say that Rish Lakish went to drink water. So Rav Asi didn't know if he argued. That's why he just quoted Rabbi Yochanan. Now, in the Mishnah, we have a machlokes between Chachamim and Reb Shimon Shizuri, which doesn't seem like much of a machlokes. It says that Chachamim hold that a ben pekua is even in the 9th month. If a baby came to full term and you shechted the mother, you don't have to shech the baby. Comes Reb Shimon Shizuri and says even if the baby was 5 years old and walked around in the field and was plowing, you could eat the baby. Where's the machlokes? They both hold the same thing, that a full-term baby is a ben pekua. Says the Gemara, the machlokes is that according to Chachamim, once a ben pekua puts its feet on the ground, you have to shecht it. That people shouldn't mistake this ben pekua for a regular animal. They say, oh, you don't have to shecht any animal. Says the Gemara, and we had this last week, that if we care about the genealogy of the father when it comes to animals, and the father is a ben pekua, and the mother is not a ben pekua, and they had offspring, so this offspring has no takana. You can never eat it. You can't shecht it. It's not a ben pekua because one of the parents isn't a ben pekua. And to shecht it you can't because it's as if one of the simanim is not here, and one of the simanim is shechted, and one of them is not shechted. Over here, Rashi says a little bit different than what Rashi said in the other Gemara. Over here, Rashi says something interesting. That even if you want to combine the two simanim and say, I want to shecht it, so I'll shecht the second siman, you can't shecht the second siman, because that would be a very long shehiyah. Between the birth and the shechita, that would be shehiyah. Now, there's two lashonos in Abaya. Abaya says that today, you could eat a ben pekua as long as you make a big heker, that everybody knows that it's a ben pekua. For instance, if you have an animal that doesn't have split hooves, a kullet, you're allowed to eat a ben pekua. Or the other lashon is that it has to have two simanim. It's the son of an animal that had no hooves. So you have a father or mother that had no hooves, and the baby had no hooves. That's a huge siman. The R Scroll brings that Rav Sharira Gaon, he at his kid's wedding took two ben pekuas and chopped their head off with an axe. And he said, this is a siman because it's in front of the whole wedding. This is a heker. I want to show that this is the concept of ben pekua. According to this Abaya, that whole farm of ben pekuas in Australia is not a good idea. Now, Zeiri, passing like Rav Shimon Shizuri, and he said that even generations after generations of bnei pekua, if you have a father, mother, bnei pekua, then the next generation is ben pekua, like the farm in Australia, according to one lashon. Rabbi Yochanan wanted to say in Rav Shimon Shizuri that it's only the ben pekua itself, but the next generation is not counted as ben pekua. Rav Ashi paskin not like Rav Shimon Shizuri, and he said the only time we paskin like Rav Shimon Shizuri in Shas is two times. One, when a person says, give a get to my wife, and he forgets to say tenu. So typically we say he's just trying to upset his wife, but if he's going to be killed, and Rav Shimon Shizuri adds, even if he's very sick, then we give the get, even though he didn't say give the get. The other case is if a person bought fruit from Am Aretz, and the fruit is the mai, so he takes Trumas Meiser, which is 1% of the fruit, and that Trumas Meiser fell back into the fruit. The problem is that Trumas Meiser is batal 1 in 100. Over here, he took 1 out of 100, meaning he had 99 left. Unfortunately for him, he was off by 1. If it would have been one more fruit, it would be batal b'rayv. So what does he do? Since it's a great loss to him, because he could only sell it to a kohen, Reb Shimon Shizuri says he could ask the Amaretz whether or not he took Meiser, and we could trust the Amaretz. Typically, we only trust the Amaretz for Shabbos, L'Kavod Shabbos. Over here, we'll trust him during the week as well. Have a wonderful day.